What's up, guys? I'm here to talk a little bit about the latest gameplay footage uh, at Ohio, Mid Ohio. I think that's what the track's called. But I got some good stuff and some questionable stuff that I to talk about. First of all, the gameplay looked decent. Think that one of the things that impresses me is that they actually did seem to polish up the graphics just a little bit. Obviously, it's not going to compete with these other race titles, um, but it's adequate and it's good enough. Um, we know what the game is, and I don't think the graphics look bad. They're not going to blow you away, but as I've said before, it is what it is. It's not bad. Um, the one thing I could say, it's a good time to me to be a race fan and to be into games like this. We got a lot of stuff that's coming out that's really good. So we went through a period, years ago where there just wasn't a lot for us, and now we're getting so many great racing games. Project Cars 2, you got Forza, you got Gran Turismo Sport. So you got something. There's something for everyone. And Arsetto Corsa is still a great game. And these games, they're really pushing the technical limits of graphics. They look fantastic, and I want 704 games at some point. I realize that right now, as I've said, this is the frame of the game has been built, and they're working on that. So other than polishing, which they have done, so I give them credit, they've made some polish to the graphics. But at some point in the future, when they decide to rebuild from the ground up again, or if it's not them, someone else, but they have to try to compete with these other games in terms of graphics and physics and handling and stuff like that. They're going to have to step their game up. That's your competition, and whether you want to admit it or not, when people are deciding, what they want from a game, you cannot stay in this lane of trying to appease casual gamers. Casual gamers don't tend to be race fans. There are some, but the type of person that's going to buy a NASCAR game is not a casual fan for the most part. I'm not speaking for everyone, this is in general. But that's where they missed the mark on the marketing. And I think it hurts them. Why would I buy a NASCAR game unless I'm a hardcore NASCAR fan when I have these other games like Project Cars 2 and Forza and Gran Turismo Sport and even games like The Crew and stuff like that. I'm not really a fan of that game, but it does look really awesome. It's a little too arcadey for my taste, but it's still another cool game. And if you're a casual fan, you might want that. The point is that as a NASCAR game, you gotta start pushing a little bit more towards simulation and have graphics that compete with these guys. So yes, this isn't really talking about this upcoming game. I'm talking about the future. Okay? I'm not even necessarily talking about next year because I do believe, I got the feeling that they're still going to continue to build on this build even with the next game. Okay? That's the feeling I get. I don't think they invested all this money and time and resources just to turn around and rebuild even next year. So I wouldn't expect a brand new build for at least a couple more years. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but it doesn't make business sense. So I like to deal with reality. So I'm not going to harp on it too much. But in the future, you got to step up your game. That's your competition, whether you want to admit it or not. And those games look fantastic. And what I'm saying is that as a casual fan or a casual gamer, if I want a racing game, right, I'm probably going to look at those games. Look at Forza. I'm going to just throw this out there. People think that developing a NASCAR game is so difficult. And I'm sure it has its difficulties to a point. But Forza has 700 different cars in the game. I don't even know how many tracks are in the game. It's amazing. And look at Project Cars 2 and Gran Turismo. They have countless cars in the game. And each car looks completely different and they sound different. And you got so many tracks. And then you compare that to NASCAR. You got 3 car models in NASCAR. You got trucks, you got Xfinity, and then you have the Monster Energy Cup. And then you got, I guess, well, I shouldn't have said 3. Then you got different manufacturers. But still, it's a handful of cars. And the differences are the paint schemes. So you look at that and then you compare it to those games, it's not even close. Then they have far superior handling and physics. So these guys are light years ahead of what NASCAR games have been. And that's why I want these guys to start thinking big. I'm not going to say anything else about it because this is something for a future video. Right now we're focused on this. And there is a lot of good stuff about what 704 is doing. Right? So I'm not bashing them. I'm just throwing that out there that at some point they're going to have to step up. You can't keep trying to make games that are appeal to casual fans because I don't think casual fans are going to run out and buy NASCAR games. Some of them will, but for the most part, the majority of your audience is made up of hardcore NASCAR fans like myself. So that's why I'm buying this game from 704 because I'm a hardcore NASCAR fan and I don't have another choice. So if I wanted, an open road course type of simulation, I'm going to buy those games. And I have different things to choose from. I can go to Project Cars. I can go to Forza. I can go to Gran Turismo Sport. Okay? So, I have choices on that end, but I have no choice as a NASCAR fan. This is all I have. So, I'm supportive of it. Moving on from that to the gameplay, I saw things I liked a lot and a few red flags, like usual. The game looks better. I'm pleasantly surprised that they did address some of the graphical problems. Like, they did do some polish to it. Is it night and day better? No. But there are noticeable differences in the reflections and the lighting and stuff like that. And those are things that, you can tinker with to improve the game. And it's pretty obvious that they have done that. So I appreciate that. I wasn't expecting that. I thought this game was going to look exactly like last year's game. And it doesn't. So kudos to 704 that, these are details, finer details that I appreciate. You can make big changes, but if you don't do anything about the little details, it kind of holds you back. And they're not doing that. So, they're addressing that stuff. So, kudos to them. I really liked the AI. I like it. It wasn't terrible last year. And it looks slightly improved this year. I like the way that Justin Allgaier's car was aggressive. He even got so aggressive that he drove onto the grass. And he almost lost control. I like that. It gives the AI some sense of personality. They're not just a bunch of they don't feel like programmed cars that just run on a rail, right? That they run a single line or anything. So I like that. That was a positive thing. Also, people talked about the tire smoke. Now, I do agree with everyone else that there's too much tire smoke. They need to tone it down a bit. However, I do want to point out something. I've seen a lot of NASCAR races on road courses, and I will tell you that it happens a lot, actually. Guys do tend to overdrive a corner sometimes trying to overtake someone, and they overdrive the corner and they lock up the brakes, and you do get tire smoke. Not like this, but some people, it almost made it seem like there shouldn't be any tire smoke. But there should be some. But this was too much, so they need to tone that down. I agree with that. But it does happen. People do overdrive these corners on road courses. Road courses are one of the track. I think brakes matter more on road courses than anywhere else, and you can actually make better laps just out braking people. So it happens. The sound, I like the fact that they didn't just throw the same old sounds that we've had in all these years. But I gotta admit, I'm not sure how I feel about how the sound. I think it sounded almost bogged down a little bit, like the engine was slightly bogged, almost like you're driving uphill. It should have had a slightly higher pitch to it, maybe a higher RPM type of sound, just slightly. But maybe every series is going to have a slightly different sound. I hope so. And I'm not bashing it either. I'm just saying I'm not sure how I feel about it till I spend time with the game, and it kind of grows on me. So I'm in the air about the audio, but it's good that they are addressing it. I like also that you can beat and bang with these guys and not get punted off the track. That's been one of the biggest issues with the physics with last year's game. And now you can run side by side, and usually last year when somebody pancaked you side by side, it would just punt you away. You couldn't really move them, but they could punt you. And it just looks vastly improved on that sense. So you want to be able to beat and bang and not really have it screw up your momentum. And I see that, and it's working good. And you see some damage as well, and it looks much. Also, another thing that's vastly improved. But the red flag for me, again, still is the difficulty looks too easy. Two things I noticed about it: the guy started in I think 12th, and he won in 5 laps. It was a 5-lap race. Yes, these are long laps, but still. That's too easy. And another thing I noticed that the guy driving wasn't, it almost felt like he was sandbagging it slightly. Like he could have ran better laps, and you could see he took the angle he took on certain corners, even when no one was around him, was not the proper driving angle. Like cutting the apex is the proper way to do it, right? When you're going to come to a turn, you want to be slightly on the outside and then cut the apex to make lap. That's how you make better lap times. And there were many times where he wasn't taking the proper racing line as a driver. Like he didn't want to run the fastest lap. It's like sandbagging it a bit to make it seem harder than it really was. So that's purely speculation on my part. But just watching it, it felt like this guy can run faster than he's running. And that concerns me. And I know that it wasn't set at the highest difficulty, but, that concerns me, man. And you can make all the improvements you want to this game. And if it turns out to be too easy, that's going to kill the game. So I'm really concerned about that. Right now, that might be my biggest concern. And I keep seeing it every time they release a video. It's just, I haven't seen one where it looked challenging. It was 5 laps. So I am concerned about it. It hasn't ruined my excitement for the game. The game does look fun, and it still looks like it's going to be a much improved product. But I can't lie, that does concern me. So I don't know what else I can say. It was mostly positive. So I am looking forward to it. I don't know much about this particular road course. I'm sure that the first time I play it, I'm going to be driving off the track a lot. I don't know how it's the layout of the track or anything, but it's going to be fun. And I like the AI was very stable for the most part. They weren't doing anything really stupid. And I like I said, when I saw Allgaier doing kind of his own thing, he was a bit over aggressive at that one point, drove into the grass. That was cool. I like seeing that because those are those little surprising moments that like, oh, this is cool. Like this guy's trying to really race me hard. So that was nice. I want to see more of that. You know, uh, the game looks good, man. I'm excited. I can't wait. But there's only a month left before the release, and I want to see some career mode stuff. I want to see some presentation, man. There's nothing, nothing happens at the end of the race. It just like ends. So, I want to see something, man. And I talk about this all the time about, that there hasn't been a sense of accomplishment, and that's what I'm talking about. Something has to happen. I want to know what happens between races. The race is over. Uh, what happens throughout the race week? I want to see what happens at the race shop. Is there interactions with an agent? Are you signing contracts? Are you involved in any commercial endorsements? Things I want to see. What happens at the race shop? In terms of working on these race cars and interacting with your crew and your crew chief and your team. There's so much you can do. Practice, right? The whole race weekend. There's a lot you can do to this game to improve that sense of accomplishment, that there's more going on with you and your career than just show up at the track and race and then it's over and nothing really happens. Now I know there's a victory lane celebration. They kind of showed us a little bit of that. But we haven't seen much else in terms of presentation. And that kind of worries me. I know there's a month left and they are going to show us something. But, I really need to see more. Okay, don't know anything about the stats layout, anything like that. So I'm looking forward to see what they show us, but I am starting to get a little worried. So far it's all been about, particular tracks, race, the race is over, and you hear a little music, but you see the same graphics layout. You see the speed rating was 99, which also proves my point. He wasn't running the fastest laps. So he won 5 laps. Am I the only one concerned about that? I'd like to know what you guys think. So I look forward to whatever else they release. And that's what I think. I'm mostly positive, right? I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on the game, but I can't lie. There are some things that concern me. So I got to call that out. And there's got to be a reason. They've shown us a bunch of different gameplay videos, and they're all easy. I don't know what to think about that. So I look forward to your comments, and until there's something else to talk about, I'll see you then.